So let's start with mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratishthitam mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirma edi vedasyama ani stha shrutam me ma prahasi anenadhitena horatran samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It's interesting that reciting this Shanti Patha, I again got the whole hymn of Savitri, this hymn kind of making sense more and more, because it is said here that it is Shravayati, it is making all the creatures of the creation charged with the perception of the truth. That means makes them hear the truth through the word of the mantra. So the word of the scripture of the hymns is being heard, being recognized by our inner consciousness because of Surya Savitri. We recognize the truth. We tune ourselves to the truth, we express it, we vibrate it, we cognize it, and this is how it proceeds on its journey. So there is this, we stopped at number 6. Anagaso aditaye devasya savituh save vishva vamani dhimahi. Blameless for infinite being in the outpouring of the divine producer, that is Savitri, Savitar, we hold by the thought all things of delight. You remember Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi in the Gayatri, and here we have Vishva Vamani Dhimahi. We hold by the thought, by our mental being, we fix it in our consciousness. For it is when Savitri is urging us towards the realization of infinite consciousness of Aditi that we become sinless and faultless, holding in our mind all things of delight. These things of delight are important in this hymn because this is the very power of Savitri, Soma, by which the truth is being recognized and wanted, as it were. We want the truth because there is a delight behind it. Otherwise, why should we want the truth if there is no delight? What is suggested here is that being on the right path is making man faultless and sinless, for it is then he can hold in his consciousness all things of delight. The manifold perception of delight, bhagam, chitram, and by doing so becomes most true to all. This is the core of this vision. The delight neutralizes the division made by day and night, as it were, by darkness and light, And by dwelling on it, one becomes supporting all. We have gaps in our perception of the truth, the darkness in between. And it is by the delight that can be bridged. And we can have the consciousness supporting all. So the delight has its role to play, to unite everyone and everything. Avishvadevam satpatim suktair adhyavrinemahe satyasavam savitaram. The universal Godhead and Master of Being we accept into ourselves by perfect words today, the producer whose production is of the truth. Satyasavam, interesting word. He is the one whose production is truth. It's Bahuvriya compound. Interpretation. Sri Aurobindo translates Avrinimahe, we choose for us, we accept into ourselves, which is very close to the original meaning of root vri, to enclose, to embrace, and therefore to choose, to, yes. We accept into ourselves by expressing it perfectly in our consciousness, by the hymns, the God in the universe, Vishvadevam, who is the Lord of existence, Savitar, who urges truth to manifest. The Lord of existence, Satpati, is also here in the universe as Vishvadeva. Vishvadeva is the universal Godhead. Satpati is the Lord of the truth, of the being. It is he who is urging the truth to manifest here, Satyasava, the Lord, Isha, the impaler, Savitar. So we people accept his urging movement within us to manifest the truth. And by expressing it perfectly in us, by the affirmations, allow him to manifest through us. Literally, it's very simple. We choose or we accept or embrace the universal Godhead, the Lord of the Being, with suktas, with these perfect expressions, hymns, today. Now, by these expressions, we embrace the universal Godhead, the Lord of the Divine Being. Him, the Savitar, who is creator of all, whose creation is of the truth. It is by hymns that we can embrace him and accept him. And there will be an explanation why by the word it works the best, because Savitar himself is making everyone capable of perceiving the truth. Ya ime ubhe ahani pura eti aprayuchan suadhi deva savita. He who goes in front of both this day and night, never faltering, placing rightly his thought, the divine producer. So he moves in front of both day and night, never inattentive, thoughtful, God Savitar. The time of Savitar's worship in India is in the morning before the day and in the evening before the night. It is the time of neither day nor night, this kind of twilight, but of their oneness, as it were, which is symbolically presenting Savitar. He is manifesting the truth by both day and night, being none of them exclusively. Ya ima vishvajatani ashravayati shlokena prachasuvati savita. Here, this ashravayati. He who by the rhythm makes heard of the knowledge all births and produces them, the divine producer. He makes all beings which are born here in this manifestation aware of the truth by the sacred word and impels them forward, the divine impeller. There are two major actions of Savitar. First is, in knowledge he makes all creatures know by the sacred word, by his consciousness present in them and compelling them by his command. And two, in power he makes all their bodies forms of their existence. Literally, it is like comprehensive and apprehensive cognition. He is responsible for both. Comprehensive, he creates the meaning, and by meaning he creates the form, suiting to that meaning, the body. So all the creatures who are born here on earth know what to do and how to be because of the divine impeller within them. He is that one who combines here hearing and seeing. As in Kana it was said, Kaudevo yunakti, Chakshuh Shrotram Kaudevo yunakti. Who is that God who unites comprehensive and apprehensive consciousness? Recognizing the meaning and recognizing the form which that meaning is embodying, or that form which manifests that meaning. So this is the whole hymn, but what is interesting here is this appendix, Sri Aurobindo's text on this hymn. It is page 299 in The Secret of the Veda. I thought we will read this passage. There are kind of 4 pages. It's longish, but it will give us the delight, the delight of the hymn. So let us be patient, unless you want to say something before.
I just wanted to say that in the previous verse, we talked about Ahoratra and Sandadhami.
Uh-huh.
Just before where you were talking about day and
Right.
night and the evening, isn't it? Something very
Absolutely.
similar.
Yeah, we combine, we collect days and nights. Samtadhami, I collect, I gather them and put them together day and nights. Oh, yes. By that which was revealed to me. That which was revealed, Shrutam, is this knowledge by Savitar. It's actually comprehensive cognition. It is understanding how things relate. And this understanding how they relate generates actually the delight. The delight is intrinsic part of this understanding. The more we see how all elements relate in the divine light of the truth, the more we get the delight. It's a kind of quite obvious. So here is the text. To Bhaga Savitri, the enjoyer. 4 great deities constantly appear in the Veda as closely allied in their nature and in their action: Varuna, Mitra, Bhaga, and Aryaman. Varuna and Mitra are continually coupled together in the thought of the rishis. Sometimes a trio appears together, Varuna, Mitra, and Bhaga, or Varuna, Mitra, and Aryaman. Separate suktas addressed to any of these godheads are comparatively rare, although there are some important hymns of which Varuna is the deity. I must say here that there is only one hymn to Mitra in the whole Rig Veda, and it is by Vishwamitra, by the way. Hymn to Mitra by Vishwamitra. But there are few to Varuna separately, and Varuna and other deities, like Varuna and Vishnu, Varuna and Indra. But the rigs in which their names occur, whether in the hymns to other gods or in the invocations to the all gods, Vishvedevah, are by no means inconsiderable in number. There are many. Many invocations, especially in Vishvedeva hymns. Vishvedevas are the universal godheads, and there they appear always. These four deities are, according to Sayana, solar powers. Varuna negatively as the lord of the night, Mitra positively as lord of the day, Bhaga and Aryaman as names of the sun. We need not attach much importance to these particular identifications, but it is certain that a solar character attaches to all the four. In them, that peculiar feature of the Vedic gods, their essential oneness, even in the play of their different personalities and functions, comes prominently to light. Not only are the four closely associated among themselves, but they seem to partake of each other's nature and attributes, and all are evidently emanations of Surya Savitri, the divine being in his creative and illuminative solar form. Shubindu here mentions something very important for the Veda, where the gods and godheads share among themselves their features and functionalities. So Varuna can be quite Aryaman and quite Bhaga and Mitra also. He can share their qualities. Mitra the same, though there is a hierarchy of them. There is Varuna, Mitra, Aryaman, Bhaga. This is the hierarchy. In other places, about four guardians of the truth, there is the whole article by Sri Aurobindo, he speaks about this, not in this one. Here we are looking into Surya Savitri as Bhaga, as the delight. Surya Savitri is the creator, according to the truth of things, in the terms of the rhythm. The worlds are brought forth from the divine consciousness, from Aditi, goddess of infinite being, mother of the gods. This is the divine mother. And Adityas are her functionalities, faculties, or sons. The indivisible consciousness, Aditi, the light that cannot be impaired, imaged by the mystic cow that cannot be slain. In that creation, Varuna and Mitra, Aryaman and Bhaga are four effective puissances. Varuna represents the principle of pure and wide being, Sat, in Satchitananda. Aryaman represents the light of the divine consciousness working as force. In other place he will say tapas. Mitra representing light and knowledge, consciousness, using the principle of Ananda for creation, is love, maintaining the law of harmony. And Bhaga represents Ananda as the creative enjoyment. He takes the delight of the creation, takes the delight of all that is created. It is the Maya the formative wisdom of Varuna, of Mitra, that disposes multitudinously the light of Aditi brought by the dawn to manifest the worlds. Multitudinously, yeah? Kind of mouthful word. In their psychological function, these four gods represent the same principles working in the human mind, in the human temperament. They build up in man the different planes of his being and mold them ultimately into the terms and the forms of the divine truth. Especially Mitra and Varuna, especially Mitra and Varuna are continually described as holding firm the law of their action, increasing the truth, touching the truth, and by the truth enjoying its vastness of divine will, or its great and uncontracted sacrificial action. Varuna represents largeness, right, and purity, everything that deviates from the right, from the purity, recoils from his being and strikes the offender as the punishment of sin. He is quite a punisher. The Vasishtha Rishi, who is famous because he is the devotee of Varuna, is always begging him not to strike our shortcomings and our impurities here because we are in manifestation. So long as man does not attain to the largeness of Varuna's truth, he is bound to the posts of the world sacrifice by the triple bond of mind, life, and body as a victim, and is not free as a possessor and enjoyer. There is something interesting about Varuna and his purity and vastness. It is the same power which is known as Maheshwari's power in the Sri Aurobindo symbol, what we study, and that would be the power of sincerity and humility. This sincerity is purity. And if sincerity is not enough, purity is not enough, vastness is not enough of our consciousness, then we are bound to this world sacrifice as a victim. We are bound to the posts of the world sacrifice by the triple bonds of the mind, life, and body. And we are not yet free as a possessor and enjoyers. We cannot possess and enjoy the world. Therefore, we have frequently the prayer to be delivered from the noose of Varuna. He has a noose. Later, Varuna becomes in the Puranic time, the godhead of the night and the ocean. He is that Uranus, most probably, that being who is in Neptune or Poseidon. He is that old god who is in the waters, in the cosmic waters of the beyond somewhere. Therefore, we have frequently the prayer to be delivered from the noose of Varuna, from the wrath of his offended purity. Mitra is, on the other hand, the most beloved of the gods. He binds all together by the fixities of his harmony. He binds all together by the fixities of his harmony, by the successive lustrous seeds of love, fulfilling itself in the order of things, Mitrasya dhamma bhih, by the dhammas, by the fixations, by the establishments of Mitra. His name Mitra, which means also friend, is constantly used with the play upon the double sense. It is as Mitra because Mitra dwells in all, that the other gods become the friends of man. So Mitra makes other gods friendly to us, because that Mitra quality character is within the gods. He is the divine consciousness. Aryaman appears in the Veda with but little distinctness of personality, for the references to him are brief. The functions of Bhaga are outlined more clearly and are the same in the cosmos and in man. So Bhaga is perceived the same in the vaster world, in the cosmos, and in man inwardly. In this hymn, Shyavashva, of Shyavashva to Savitri, we see both the functions of Bhaga and his oneness with Surya Savitri. For it is to the creative Lord of truth that the hymn is addressed, to Surya, but to Surya specifically in his form as Bhaga, as the Lord of enjoyment. The word Bhaga means enjoyment or the enjoyer, and that this sense is the one held especially appropriate to the divine name Bhaga, is emphasized by the use of bhojanam, bhaga, saubhagam in the verses of the hymn. So all these words mean enjoyment, yes? Bhojanam is eating enjoyment or partaking of bhuj, bhukti, enjoying. Bhaga is from bhaj, to share the enjoyment. Saubhagam is perfect enjoyment. Savitri, we have seen, means creator, but especially in the sense of producing, emitting from the unmanifest and bringing out into manifest. Here we come to the main definition of the word Savitar. Throughout the hymn, we saw it, Save, Asuvati, and so on. Throughout the hymn, there is a constant dwelling upon the root sense of the word, which it is possible to render adequately in a transition, which it is impossible to render adequately in translation. That's why it's so difficult to translate this word Sava and Savitar and Soma. In the very first verse, there is a covert play of the kind, for bhojanam means both enjoyment and food, and it is intended to be conveyed that the enjoyment of Savitri is soma, from the same root su, to produce, to press out, to distill. Soma, the food of divine beings, the supreme distilling, highest production of the great producer. What the Rishi seeks is the enjoyment of all created things, of the immortal and immortalizing Ananda. I think not only Rishi seeks, we all seek the enjoyment in all created things, the immortal or immortalizing bliss. That's what we seek. That's why we move, interact with things. It is this Ananda which is that enjoyment of the divine producer, of Surya Savitri, the supreme result of the truth. For truth is followed as the path to the divine beatitude. You remember we discussed that the truth is the corridor to the Ananda. Here Sri Aurobindo will do both ways. This Ananda is the highest, the best enjoyment. It disposes all aright. For once the Ananda, the divine delight in all things, is attained, it sets right all the distortions, all the evil of the world. It carries man through to the goal. If by the truth, the right of things, we arrive at the Ananda, then by the Ananda also we can arrive at the right and truth of things. It is to the Divine Creator in the name and the form of Bhaga that this human capacity of the divine and right enjoyment of all things belongs. When he is embraced by the human mind and heart and vital forces and physical being, man, when this divine form is received into himself by man, then the Ananda of the world manifests itself. This is an important one. When he is embraced, he, the divine Savitri, you remember that Vishvadevam Savitaram Vrinimahe, we choose, we embrace. When he, the divine creator, is embraced by human mind and heart and vital forces and physical being, when this divine form is received into himself by man, then the Ananda of the world manifests itself. Nothing can limit, nothing can diminish, neither God nor demon, friend nor enemy, event nor sensation. Whatever pleasure this divine enjoyer takes in things, in whatever vessel or object of his enjoyment. For nothing can diminish or hedge in or hurt his luminous self-empire Swarajyam, his perfect possession of himself in infinite being, infinite delight, and the vastness of the order of the truth. This is something, if we take literally, it's a very powerful sentence, yeah? Nothing can limit, nothing can diminish, neither God nor demon, friend nor enemy, event nor sensation. Whatever pleasure this divine enjoyer takes in things, in whatever vessel or object of his enjoyment. Once this divine consciousness is discovered in us, the enjoyment in all things cannot be diminished by no force. It flows infinitely in this manifestation. This is what we are aiming at, actually. Therefore, it is he that brings the seven delights, Saptaratna, to the giver of the sacrifice. He loses them forth on us. And this is what losing forth, yes, Su, releases the hidden truth in us, onto us, to the surface. For they are all there in the world, as in the divine being, in ourselves also, and have only to be loosed forth on our outer consciousness. It's like they are overflowing from within to the without. All those delights of existence. The rich and varied amplitude of this sevenfold delight, perfect on all the planes of our existence, our being, is the Bhaga, enjoyment or portion of Bhaga Savitri in the completed sacrifice. And it is that varied wealth which the Rishi seeks for himself and his fellows in the sacrifice by the acceptance of the divine enjoyer. Shivashva then calls on Bhaga Savitri to vouchsafe to him, even today, a felicity not barren, but full of the fruits of activity, rich in the offspring of the soul, Prajavat Saubhagam. Ananda is creative. It is jhana, the delight that gives birth to life and world. Only let the things loosed forth on us, only let the things loosed forth on us be of the creation conceived in the terms of the truth, and let all that belongs to the falsehood, to the evil dream created by the ignorance of the divine truth, dushvapnyam, be dismissed, dispelled away from our conscious being. So we have to remove this illusion of dushvapnyam, of this nightmare which is put in front of our being, on our surface being by our ignorance. Once that veil is removed, we see the shining truth of the Supreme. In the next verse, he makes clearer the sense of dushvapnyam. What he desires to be dispelled is all evil, vishvani duritani, all the obstacles, stumblings. Suvitam and duritam, these are two terms in the Veda. Suvitam, suitam, going perfectly, and duritam, going astray imperfectly. In the Veda means literally right going and wrong going. Suvitam is truth of thought and action, duritam error and stumbling, sin and perversion. Suvitam is happy going, felicity, the path of Ananda. Duritam is calamity, suffering, all ill result or error and ill doing. All that is evil, Vishvani Duritani, belongs to the evil dream that has to be turned away from us. It is because of ignorance that we do these stumblings and these sinful actions. Bhaga sends to us instead all that is good, Bhadram. Good in the sense of felicity, the auspicious things of the divine enjoying, the happiness of the right activity, the right creation. 4. In the creation of Bhaga Savitri, in his perfect and faultless sacrifice, there is a double sense of the word sava. This word we met many times, losing forth. Used of the creation and the sacrifice, the libation of the soma. So we use this word in two meanings, yes? As the creation as it is, and the sacrifice as the libation of the soma. Because soma is that delight which has to flow and to connect all things in the divine oneness of the truth. Man stand absolved from sin and blame by the Ananda, Anagasah, blameless, in the sight of Aditi, the Divine Mother, fit for the undivided and infinite consciousness of the liberated soul. The Ananda, owing to that freedom, is capable of being in them universal. They are able to hold by their thought all things of the delight, Vishvavamani. For in the Dhi, the understanding that holds and arranges, there is right arrangement of the world, perception of right relation, right purpose, right use, right fulfillment, the divine and blissful intention in all things. It is the universal divine the master of the Sat, of the divine being, from whom all things are created in the terms of the truth, Satyam, that the sacrificer today, by means of the sacred mantras, seek to accept into themselves under the name of Bhaga Savitri. So Bhaga Savitri is the code or the password which allows us to connect to that cloud of delight. It is the Creator whose creation is the truth, whose sacrifice is the outpouring of the truth through the outpouring of his own Ananda, his divine and unerring joy of being, unerring joy of being into the human soul. He, as Surya Savitri, master of the truth, goes in front of both this night and this dawn, of the manifest consciousness and unmanifest, the waking being and the subconscious and superconscious, whose interaction creates all our experiences. And in his motion, he neglects nothing, is never unheeding, never falters. He goes in front of both, bringing out of the night of the subconscious the divine light, turning into the beams of that light the uncertain or distorted reflections of the conscious, and always the thought is rightly placed. The source of all error is misapplication, wrong placing of truth, wrong arrangement, wrong relation, wrong positing in time and space, object and order. But in the Master of Truth, there is no such error, no such stumbling, no such wrong placing. Surya Savitri, who is Bhaga, stands between the infinite and the created worlds, within us and without. All things that have to be born in the creative consciousness he receives into the Vijnana, the supermind. There he puts it into its right place in the divine rhythm by the knowledge that listens and receives the word as it discerns. So he loses it forth into the movement of things. Ashravayati shlokena pracha suvati savita. When in us each creation, when in us each creation of the active Ananda, the Prajavat Saubhagam, comes thus out of the unmanifest, received and heard rightly by the knowledge in the faultless rhythm of things, then is our creation that Bhaga Savitri, and all the births of that creation, our children, our offspring, Praja, Apatyam, are things of the delight, Vishvavamani. This is the accomplishment of Bhaga in man, his full portion of the world's sacrifice. This last sentence I will read again. I'm afraid that we missed the meaning. When in us each creation of the active Ananda, the Prajavat Saubhagam, comes thus out of the unmanifest, it is distilled, pressed out, received and heard rightly of the knowledge in the faultless rhythm of things, which he provides and makes us hear this word. Then in our creation that of Bhaga Savitri, and all the births of that creation, our children, products of this, our offspring, praja apatyam, are things of delight, Vishvavamani. I think you have to most probably read this text by yourself alone somewhere in the morning, and you will find very many indications of the highest truth of our existence. Why delight unites us all. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, why we all have to be full of delight, because this is the only way to manifest the truth and the divine. The divine is the delight. The divine manifested these worlds for the additional ananda, as Mother says. So we have to, like those bees, collect the honey, drops of honey, and bring to one place where everybody can partake of that honey.
So then, Vladimir, that's when our bhagya is changed to delight. Bhagya.
Yeah, Bhagya is the destiny, yes. Interesting that the destiny Bhagya is also related to delight. We have our destiny as a portion of delight assigned to us. We have some portion of delight given to us in this manifestation. Something to partake of, to enjoy. Somewhere Sri Aurobindo has this beautiful discussion. Somebody was complaining that this world is so difficult and so much suffering in the world. And he says this is not true. The world is quite a delightful place. Even people who are very sick and suffering a lot do not want to die somehow, to leave it. They're still holding on to it as if there is. So whatever we say, whatever our mind says, and our mind is always negative and points out only to negative things because they are more visible, more perceivable to the mind. Still, our central being, our soul, knows that it is not so. We are here for the delight. We are born from the delight. By delight we live, and into the delight we go. The whole world is born from this ananda. By ananda it lives, and into ananda it goes. Otherwise there would be no world whatsoever. There is no other reason for this world to be. To gather the delight. And once we do this gathering delight, we have to purify ourselves to adhere to the truth, and then the delight will manifest. And with the delight, the divine existence in its fullness. This is something we lost in the post-Vedic literature. This would not be spoken this way in the post-Vedic literature. The delight becomes a dangerous trend. Not the divine one.
Vladimir, there was a bit of a note ahead, 1 or 2 pages ahead, which you did not read. Can
Yeah,
you just
these
go
are
back to that?
not so important
Okay.
because they are. This is my notes. I did this because I wanted to come back to them, to these texts. Here is one of them explaining something from, it's my note, you see, connecting to other hymns, to Savitri, and also, yes, in Sri Aurobindo's vision of the worlds where it belongs.
Okay. Okay.
Vladimir, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
In Savitri, there is the canto, the double twilight of the earthly realm. So this twilight, as explained in this particular section that you just read, is the coming together of the day and night.
Right.
It is that union
Right.
of day and night. So in the context of Savitri, I want to understand this double twilight. What state of consciousness is that? Is it the consciousness of Savitri as she's coming out of the darkness of death towards the twilight? I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, that twilight in Savitri is, yes, the twilight is understood as the most mystical time of the day, yes. It is kind of when the darkness vacates the place, the night vacates the place for the day, her sister, Dawn. So these two twin sisters, but they, as the Veda says, occupy the same space, alternating the occupation of the same space. They are changing one after the other, but with the same mind. They have the same objective. The night and day have the same objective, the manifestation of the divine. But because of this alternation, this movement forward takes place and changes take place, yes, and transformation is taking place. Otherwise, we would not be able to manifest the divine. We will be typal beings, yes, as we are created from the beginning and live the same. But in time, this alternation, this rhythm, breathing in and breathing out, darkness and light, is needed to move forward. This is the way how we move forward. So in between this twilight is the most mysterious, because this is, they say, a crack to the beyond. Yeah, it is in that moment that there is a connection to the transcendental delight. It is in that moment that the unifying force of both of these alternations is actually most reachable to us. This is the idea, I think.
Thank you. Got it.
Yeah. If you have some other thoughts, please share.
I just had this thought that in the Sanskrit lesson, Vladimir, the Sandhya is always a dual. It always uses dual verb forms and things like
Right.
that.
Yeah, these are two sandhyas. Yeah, yeah. And that is morning and evening.
And we experience the state of consciousness actually in that time, early morning at about 3:34 when you wake up. You are in a dual consciousness. And
Right.
similarly, as you're moving towards night at Shondhe what we call in Bengali Shondhe the twilight, you do experience the day passing off and the night energies coming on. If you just sit in contemplation at that time, you can experience that in between state.
Yeah.
But it's very rare. One has to be very conscious to experience that.
Right.
I think also in meditation, in between the in breath and the out breath, there's a space that you could elongate and experience something as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So we experience the double, this twilight between every breath in the gap.
Interesting, this with the breathing in and out, what you mentioned. Never thought of it, why it is considered that kumbhaka, the holding the breath, is considered to be the way to plus your
Mortality.
living time, to extend
Yes.
your life.
Life.
as long as you hold the breath, that time it will be added to your living. So if you hold it for 1 minute plus, so you have it. You can earn your living. And well, it is kind of considered to be in pranayama, but the idea, most probably symbolic idea, is that you are tapping into the beyond by that.
I just wanted to say also, Vladimir, that thank you for giving us this particular hymn, because this hymn and this explanation by Sri Aurobindo is so fruitful for me in my desire to understand Christ. I see so many references in here that I need to study it a lot more. But, you know, starting with Sava and Savior, and just so many, I just kept making pages and pages of notes of look this up, look this up, look this up, because there's so many biblical references that can be tied together with their true meaning through this particular hymn. So I'm going to really work on this. Thank you.
Yeah, it explains something very interesting, that the delight is that which is bridging and making the world one. Yeah, it is that which allows all the bridges over the darkness and reconnect the truth again. Even if there is darkness, the delight may do that and bring us to the truth. It's not necessarily that only from the truth you arrive at delight, which is absolutely true, but also the delight itself is the bridge, building up, removing the obstacles.
I'm really struck. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm really struck also with taking Sri Aurobindo's definition of sin as anything that leads you in the wrong direction, away from the path, which is very much explained in this hymn, that to be saved from your sins is to be brought into the right path. And that it's not about
Arriving at the goal, yes.
It's about turning yourself in the right direction and traveling in the right direction. As it says in this hymn, makes you sinless, that you don't have to beat yourself or do some other thing, that it is about turning in the right direction, going in the right direction. So that's a really interesting concept to me.
Right, that you walk the right path. The right path is that the soma, the divine delight, which is generated by the supreme within us and within things, is cognized and allowed to flow. So you are not you're not holding it for yourself. You don't think that soma is for you and not for them, and you take the delight from them for you. Yeah? You give them less and take more from them. This is all that sinful kind of distorted way of stumbling, because it brings the suffering. And once you generate the suffering for others and yourself, then you are in that kind of distorted world. But the moment you see that all the delight was generated by the Supreme, and it is so, if you look even objectively without anything else, scientifically, if you will see that it is so. Everything is here is given, and we are the creatures full of this exchange of delight. We cannot get our life without each other. We depend on each other, and if you are happy, it makes me happy, you know. It's kind of automatic. If you are unhappy, I am very worried. Why? Because you may make me unhappy afterwards. In the most egoistic way of thinking. Yeah? But even then, we notice this, that if our neighbors are unhappy, it gives you food for thought, what to do. Maybe better to move somewhere else. because the neighbors are unhappy with you. So you try to make them happy. It's a normal thing, actually. It's much more normal than we think, to make everyone sarve bhavanto sukhina, may all be happy. Because only then you can truly be happy. I was always wondering, how can one be really happy with one riches in a separate, mansion, when on the road there are people who are suffering? I never could understand, how is that even possible? How can you be really resting in your riches and pleasures if somebody has still needs? I just
That is
don't
the
understand.
selfishness.
Right.
That is the selfishness, the biggest sin, according to Sri Aurobindo.
Right.
Selfishness.
Yeah. The only sin, he says, is selfishness.
Yes, it's the only sin.
He
Not
says
allowing.
you're
Say it again.
Sri Aurobindo says you are a thief.
Right.
If you,
Oh, well, yeah, Gita says you are a thief, yes. The thief, the one who is cooking for himself only, let me enjoy my life, my prosperity, my separate existence. In the meanwhile, when the others are around you are not really in that position. Well, the nature will push us towards this right direction. Yeah? So we will see it. Socialism will come, communism, all kind of revolutions and problems, and because they are nothing but the attempts to balance things rightly. Yes? I don't say that socialism is the right way. It was totally a distorted embodiment of this truth. But in a way, nature is looking for the answers, how to make things right.
So, what are the 7 delights?
7 levels of being, yes. They are all full of delight, of the
Right.
divine presence, yes.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Right.
7 levels of being.
Yeah, the fulfillment of absolute fulfillment of delight on every level, on physical, vital, mental, supramental, and transcendental. So you have a complete realization of bliss, which is truth, which is consciousness and being.
Vladimir, do you think there's any relationship between the 4 gods listed at the beginning and the 4 emanations in the mother's story?
Absolutely, yes. And these are. So Varuna is Maheshwari, Mitra is Aryaman, Mitra, Aryaman, both. Yeah, there's consciousness in knowledge and consciousness in power. Chit Shakti is Mahakali. Then Bhaga is, and part of Mitra as he projects consciousness into the love and delight. And Bhaga is Mahalakshmi. And finally, Mahasaraswati is the supermind, which is Daksha, Amsha, and Surya. I mean, he doesn't mention them here. Or Surya Savitri. Surya Savitri is the supramental world, which manifests all the worlds. Savitara is more pressing out everything which is composed in this supermind into time and space. And Surya is the Atman, the self of that supramental world, where everything is being cooked, prepared for manifestation in time and space. Yeah. Daksha, Amsha, and Surya is the triple supermind. Yeah. Absolutely. And that is Mahasaraswati. Mahasaraswati works out all perfect relations between these infinite beings, which will be projected into manifestation. Amshas, portions.
Vladimir, I was just wondering if you've written something like a summary of all of this.
Well, I've spoke about this quite a bit all my life, I guess.
Yeah, I know, but it would be nice to have a book where it's all put together so that people who don't have your background and your knowledge could actually get a picture for the whole cosmology.
You will get it from Sri Aurobindo, by the way. But of course, it requires kind of reading through quite a bit. I did write something on this. I can even put, I think I did before even put my article on the Sri Aurobindo scene. It was published somewhere in the Ontology on Indian psychology. Yes, it was done by Matthias long ago. The Vedic gods and triple worlds, where all the Adityas are identified with Sri Aurobindo's levels of consciousness. Yeah, with his references, with his quotations, what he says about them. It is all from him. It is his knowledge. And this knowledge helped me to read the Rig Veda, because without these keys, you can't understand the Rig Veda at all. It is all hidden. You have to have someone who had that revelation, that knowledge, and spoke to you in a different language. So you have two languages going simultaneously, Sanskrit and Sri Aurobindo. And you need his etymological system, etymons, because without them you will not even understand what he wants to say.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is that even reading Sri Aurobindo is such a huge task to understand all of this knowledge. I mean, it's vast. It's a huge undertaking. So that's why I was wondering whether you've summarized this. Because you can do it. You have the ability to take what Sri Aurobindo has said and put it into something more concise.
Well, it's not a very good thing, actually, I guess. Simplifying or these approximations are only for our mind to build a bridge in order to keep to something higher. Yeah? If it happens, it's good, but if it doesn't, then it is. Well, anyhow, there were several attempts made to do this by me also, and I found that it is always very dubious to write things, because when you write, you cannot explain everything. You don't feel it, totally. So you have to, even Sri Aurobindo cannot do it totally, so with all his prophetic, so he needs to write more and more and more on the same topic in different ways until you actually arrive at it. With his, supramental consciousness, he could do it. So I would rather recommend read him more and think yourself than somebody else. I can't read anybody else, by the way. All the disciples who wrote on Sri Aurobindo, I cannot anymore.
I cannot either. I don't know.
All
I can
flat.
only read Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. That's
Right.
it. I mean, everybody tells me to read the Disciples, but I gave up long time ago. I
Yeah.
couldn't read.
I agree totally. You read and it is so kind of, that's what simplification or some kind of explanation, which I don't need actually, because it
Also,
doesn't.
Robin, you'll find that Sri Aurobindo himself is very summarized. You cannot summarize it further. I have never been able to think of or even, imagine summarizing something that is already summarized. It's like that. It's very tough, those sentences, but nothing can be said further, I think.
Yeah, what we can do and what we usually do, we connect one Sri Aurobindo where he summarized here with other Sri Aurobindo where he summarized there, and that's what we are playing with. This is how we do, and that gives us more space, or in a moment, some kind of glimpse or insight, some other insight that it is true. Actually, the only thing we want to know, to learn, that it is true. And we want to see how, yes. And this is what happens. I'm so kind of do not know even. Sometimes I think, how is that even possible that my life went into this direction? Many times I think, how come? Why? And truly speaking, it's very unusual anyway. It's as if somebody hired you, as if the spirit hooked you up and does not allow you to go anywhere because of his delight. The delight holds you back. So you would maybe go long and go somewhere, but you cannot, because this delight of the truth is holding you. You are the prisoner of the spirit, so to say. Maybe there is no other way to go anywhere, but your mind has a tendency to think that there must be more possibilities, but there are no possibilities, only one, to be totally surrendered to the divine. Okay, I will stop here. I'm already over time, 15 minutes. Let me close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is the best summary of may all be happy, may all be free from any imperfection and disease, because imperfection and disease is exactly that. May all see only beautiful things, bhadrani, blissful things. That means the divine things, divine relations. Ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, and no one should partake of dukkha, of ignorance and suffering, of wronggoing, wrongdoing. Great. All right. See you then next time. Bye. Namaste.